Hey folks, Corey here, Buck Wild Bees. Another thing I want to tell you, changed my channel name to Buck Wild Bees. It's really my business name. I just officially decided to change my YouTube and make it more of a business site. I will do the same stuff, it's just a new name. So yeah, still Corey, by the way, so you can refer to me if you need to. Anyway, today we're going to do on how I feed my bees coming towards winter and so on, coming to my top bars and my other hives. So today we're out here, and this is a hive that I need to feed. I recommend feeding honey, really, from your own hives. Don't go buy it at a store, or maybe a local beekeeper, maybe. But don't get honey from the store and feed it to your bees. But anyway, this was some extra. Hopefully I can get in there without them getting too ornery today. I put this in here. I had some extra sugar water off a small hive that was no longer anymore, that I had sold, and so on and so forth. But I put this in there to let them eat it and see how they did, because they needed some more. I don't know if you can see. Last time I got in here, I showed from the viewing window, but see, they're only, maybe, I guess, what, 10 frames or so. Count them if you like. And they're just now getting storage. There's a lot of brood in there. I went through them about a couple of days ago, and there was a lot of brood in there, so they're about to explode, hopefully, to get this last flow. But I'm just going to go ahead and feed them to help them get some more comb out, bring some more storage in. I'm going to feed them some honey, give them a little bit of a boost. But I'm going to show you how I feed them now. This is one style of way I go, and this is basically all it is let me get this out of the way. I'll put you on my head here so you can see what I'm seeing. Okay, so I basically have a basic front of the hive feeder here. They emptied that one, so they are using it. They're going to definitely probably enjoy this honey then. I got a few that are not happy about me doing that, obviously. Let's see if I can get in here without getting stung. Yeah, I'm out here in my shorts and my Fruit of the Loom socks, by the way. Alright, so I basically have this basic feeder that you would normally stick on the front of your box hives, your standard hives like that over there. But instead you can stick them, I put it on a piece of wood, I don't know if you can see that. Just get it off the bottom and put it as close to the cone as possible. That way they don't have to travel far, and the ants and stuff they can protect from. Look, I got a hive beetle there I got rid of. But anyway, so today I'm going to do that one the same way. And the only reason I do it this way on this hive is because normally I would, instead of sticking it down here like I do on the bottom, because it's kind of hard for them to get to unless you get it close to the cone, right? Well, usually what I do is I do this. I make a piece of wood with holes cut out, and enough for 2 jars to sit in, and I would feed them this way. The only downside is I can't do it on this hive because it has a flat roof, so I'd have to leave the top off in order to feed them. So I just feed them off the bottom. Now on my gable ones, that's why I have gables, so I can literally stick my jars like this inside that gable and still have a roof and have space. So that's one consideration I say if you build a top bar, is to go ahead and put enough space so you can feed them from the top, because it's easier to feed. Now this is another thing I want to show you. I had a recent person ask me about sugar frames. Well, this is one I built, that has just a little square frame that I used to use, and I tried a sugar frame. I mean, you can use them. If you have success, good for you. I didn't have success when the bees really didn't use it much. They do use a lot more water because they have to dissolve that stuff, to chew it and so on. It's a little harder for them in the winter to do. If anything, put it at the very back, use it for like a backboard. So, if they use it, they use it. If not, they're not. Just don't split your brood. Don't stick your sugar frame in between 2 frames of brood. You'll split your ball and you'll kill your bees. But yeah, if you want to do something like this, you can, to feed them, fill that up. Even another thing that I'm going to do with this hive is I'm going to go into one of my stronger hives, and I'm going to pull a frame of honey out and stick it in here. But I'm only going to do that when the bees in here, the new bees come out. That way they have a big enough population to defend against robber bees because I'm going to be sticking a whole frame of honey in there, and I want to make sure they are able to defend it. So I'm going to stick this back down where it is on that piece of wood. See how I got it as far close as I can get without, you know, the jar touching cone. And then I'm going to take this, okay, open her up. All fresh honey for the girls. Make sure this lid fits. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret. Before you just go ahead and tip your jar over and put it in there, do this outside the hive first. That way, if it does drip, it drips outside the hive and not inside your hive. Because if it drips inside your hive, and you'll just get pest problems. But apparently created a vacuum. We're good. No drips. You stick that in there, and I'm hoping they consume that in a day because they need it. So we'll leave that, and I'll push a little bit forward more. That way they don't have to travel so far. It is getting colder at night, so then I'm going to go ahead and close these girls back up, and that's how I feed these. Now, like I said, if I would feed the gabled, I'd feed those, or I could try that. That's another way. Now, on my box hives, I'm going to show you real quick on how to do those on the standard ones. Just a real quick example of how I can feed on those two as well. So, hold on. So I wanted to point something out on my top bars that I learned from the very beginning. And that is, on my very first top bars, I built holes. Okay? And eventually I ended up figuring out that, I don't know if maybe everybody's bees do this or not, I don't know. Hey, look at the puppies! Hey, Rhodey. Is that when you have hives that have the slit like on a box, my bees for some reason very rarely propolize the entrance and close it up for the winter, you know, like build those walls of goo, I guess you could call it if you don't know it, but that's propolis. But anyway, and then on my circle ones, on the hives that have holes, they propolize them every fall, man. They'll start closing them up. And I don't know if I have a hive I can get close enough to without being aggravated. Well, this one ain't got really propolis like it did. But, you know, they close the holes up a lot more than they do the slits. And also I wanted to state this too. That was just an observation. But I also want to state this too, I forgot to mention. My bees, I usually, and this is about how much honey probably you should have for the winter per hive. And it's really hard to say because, well, I mean, it depends on your bees really, and your climate and where you're at. For example, well, like this hive over there, that greenish blue one thing over there. That hive has made it winters no problem off, you know, minimal honey, you know, maybe 100 pounds or so if you give that. I give my bees way more honey than they would ever need. Why not? I mean, if they make it, then you're just going to have that much more for the springtime boost, you know. So really just leave them more than you'd ever think, you know. But I say at least 100 pounds. I live here in, you know, Midwest here in Illinois, and I have to have at least 100 pounds in my hives, and sometimes I have to have more, and sometimes I can have less. That depends on the bee size. You know, if there's a lot of bees in the hive, you know, then they're going to eat a lot more. They're going to be able to keep the hive warmer, but there's still a lot more energy that they're using, so they're still going to eat more. And then you have some hives that I can wake through the winter in this, you know, a very small amount of bees, maybe 1,000, be clustered in here, and only make it all, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 pounds maybe, give or take. It's hard to really measure it all out, especially when it comes to top bars and stuff. But that, I mean, that's what I would say. Is just honestly, if you feel like you're not leaving enough, leave more. You know, you can't hurt it. As long as they've, you know, when it comes winter, as long as they don't have to move far to get it. You know, if it's around their brood and stuff, then no, man, leave them as whatever. But I'd say at least 100 pounds. And any further north of me, probably a lot more than that. And people can disagree or agree on that, but I mean, it all depends on what you have, you know. So yeah. Okay, so on these box hives, this is just a nuke. This is, half of one of those. I wanted to show you real quick. This doesn't have anything in it. I just wanted to show you how you can feed them on these hives as well. I mean, just for beginners, stuff, simple stuff that you should know. Maybe you didn't. So anyway, so you could do the traditional feeding on the outside with the type of feeder like this. Now in wintertime, not so good. They have, it's probably going to crystallize, and not only that, but they can't. They don't want them to travel so far to get whatever they need. You don't want them to travel far. So this isn't good in the winter. Now, anytime else during the summertime, springtime, whatever you're feeding them outside's good. You just have to watch out for robber bees. You'll have to reduce their entrance, smaller, so they can have less guard bees, per hole to guard. If you don't want to do this style, there's another way that I really recommend. If you can get your feed inside the hive and not have it outside so bees can smell it, then you should do something like this. Alright, well maybe. Alright, so I have two of those just like these inside on an empty honey super, I guess you could call it. This way it's right above the cone, right above the cluster of bees. They don't have to move far. It's right above it. You could even do this, any way you want. It makes it easy. And you can feed them that way. There's other things you can buy. There's other feeders you can buy for the tops of them. Big things you pour stuff into. But when it comes to winter, I would hope that you have them fed up until then. Really, I really say that unless I absolutely have to, I won't break the seal on my hives, which means I won't pop the lid to check them in the winter, because they won't have the energy to go seal everything back up around the outside edges again, because it's so cold, or maybe. But yes, there's so many different ways you can do it. Now in here you can use sugar cubes. Just lay the sugar cubes right on top of frames and use your inner covers or your migratory covers or whatever, and flip them over until you have that little bitty space. And that'll give you enough space between the top bars in this box if you don't have something like this to stick on top. Another thing too, if you have a lot of hives like I do, I'll feed them if I have to, but what I'll do is I'll go and I'll just steal a frame off of one of these hives that don't need it, that have all the extra, and I'll just stick it in here on the outside edge of something they're not working. Pull one of these out and then stick it on the outside edge and let them have it. That's another thing. That's actually the best thing you could do for them. The only problem with that you have is if you don't, like I said, with that one over there, is you don't want to stick a whole frame of honey in there if they only have a little bit of ball of bees, because they won't be able to guard that if you have a robbing problem. And this time of year you can have that, especially if there's not so much blooming, or in early spring you'll have that robbing problem where a lot of bees are just going to come in and they overwhelm them and they'll rob your hive out and kill everything inside basically. So you don't want to do that. Just got to watch it. So when you feed, watch, pay attention, because I'm telling you, if you have an ant problem or a pest problem, you're going to want to catch it real quick, or you're going to have an abscond, which means your bees and your queen are going to fly out because they've got infestation of ants or bees are raiding them and stealing their honey and robbing them and so on. So be careful when you feed. And especially, like I said, when it's times of the year when there's nothing out to forage. If you stick feed in here and they can smell it, bees are going to come in and check it out. So I think that's about what I wanted to cover. I think that's it. I don't know. I got to do a couple things. I'm going to move some frames of honey around from ones that have extra to the ones that need it. Get all my bees all fed up and ready for winter, and hopefully it's not a bad one. So till next time, I'll catch you up here at Buck Wild Bees here.